What's going on, everybody? Good evening. We're going to get started here in just a couple of minutes. Good evening, Manukar. Welcome in. Just going to give it a couple more minutes here. Sounds like Flips is going to be joining us in a couple. Sure, we'll have a few more members stopping by here soon. How's everybody doing today? Ryan is doing fantastic. I like to hear it. Doing well myself. Been busier with things other than trading more than I like recently, which kind of sucks. So hopefully gonna dedicate some time tonight to get caught up on everything and be prepared for the rest of the week. Was out traveling this weekend for Easter, so didn't really have any chance to get anything done. And yeah, back to it now though, and hopefully in a little bit more of a regular schedule from here. Just gonna give it a few more minutes before we get into the topic for tonight. Any questions before we get started? Main topic for the evening is going to be on volume. So anything related to volume before we get going, or otherwise, any related questions? You're welcome, Koa, but we haven't even gotten started yet. My pleasure, though. Always love these live classes. All right. Just sending out one more message there. We'll give it one more minute and then we'll get right into it. All right. I say we get this one going. Get this PowerPoint up. Oops. Cool. Well, welcome in everybody. Welcome to the class for the evening. Tonight, our main focus is going to be on volume and how that relates to confirming high quality trades and understanding a bit more about price action as well. In just a little bit, we should be joined by Flips. So he's going to come in and talk just a bit about his trading strategy or really whatever he decides to speak on when he shows up. So we should hear a bit from him here soon. Yeah, let's get right into it. As a reminder, those of you who have been coming to my classes for the past 5, 6-ish weeks should probably know by now that we've been going through this beginner's course series Right now, we are on lecture 5, which is all about price action and volume. And we still have 7 more lectures to go in this series. So, a lot more kind of live course formatted content here for at least the next 2-ish months. So, if you enjoy this lecture and you haven't seen the ones before, highly recommend going to check those out and also sticking around for the next few to be coming shortly. Just to remind everybody, I like to bring up kind of the goal for this course series every time we start a new class. Overall, the goal is to develop successful traders who can find and execute on the highest probability trades and act on those opportunities with confidence. I think so far, we've been kind of laying down the building blocks in this course series for that. And yeah, I'm excited to see how everybody feels after we get through the next couple lectures. So that said, let's get right into it. Just a couple things to mention before I get into it too heavily. I always like to give a little bit of a warning that in these lectures, there's generally a large amount of information. What I usually like to do is try to start with some easier or kind of more basic content at the beginning of the class, and then move into a bit more advanced topics. So important to note that. And one thing I want to mention is if you have any questions or comments that come up throughout the lecture, feel free and just go ahead and put those in the chat whenever they come to your mind, and I'll address those as soon as I see them. And if I miss them and you feel like I ignored it or something like that, just go ahead and throw it in the chat again, and hopefully I'll catch it the second time. So with that said, let's get into actually defining volume. Now, before I give you my answer, I'd like to pose a question to you all and ask, in your opinion, what is volume? And if you don't know what volume is, do you have any guesses as to what it might be? Go ahead and throw those answers in the chat. Let's see what you guys got, and let's see where we're all at to start this class out. What level of understanding does everybody have? Manny Carr says buying and selling. How many people are interested in the stock? The amount of buyers or sellers? Uh-oh, Flips. Flips made it. Yeah, I agree with those answers in the chat. Definitely volume. It's very easily understood by, I would say, the amount of buyers and sellers or the amount of transactions currently occurring on a specific equity or derivative. What's going on, Flips?
What's good, brother? Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, loud and clear.
Awesome, awesome. I'm here, brother. Trying to get
Hey,
locked.
yeah, you're trying to learn about volume?
100%. That's what I'm here for.
All right. In your opinion, Flips, what would you say volume is? What does volume mean to
Um,
you?
is the amount of buyers and sellers that's happening at that precision time. How many people are interested at that price target or to buy to short? Is telling me where are people trying to get in, or where are people actually trying to sell shares, or that's just the movement of the stock, the
Yeah,
power
and
in the stock. Yeah.
I think you said something important there, Flips, is volume really is what moves a stock, right? At the end of the day, right, there could be so many reasons for volume to show up in a stock. It could be news, it could be, an hourly candle close, it could be market open, it could be earnings. But all in all, right, all those events eventually drive volume into a specific equity, which causes that movement. Cool. So yeah, just another kind of definition of volume. Volume represents the amount of shares traded in a given time frame. So you can see this is the 1 year, 1 day chart. Every single one of these bars is daily candles, and at the bottom you can see the volume bars here. And again, this is the daily time frame, so each candle represents a day. So all these volume bars at the bottom of the chart represents the number of shares traded in that day. And we'll talk a little bit about why that's important in just a couple slides. One important thing and just kind of a couple rules to note is that there's some common, I'll call it trends or patterns to be looking for in volume. You'll notice that at market open and market close, it's pretty common to see high volume. We could look at something like AMD, Flips' favorite stock. We look on the 5-minute, and pretty much every day you'll see the same idea where where at market open volume's higher, and at market close volume is also higher. And through the midday, we generally see that drop off in volume. So everybody kind of see that general trend there. What are you gonna say, Flips?
I said we got paid today in AMD.
I'm not surprised. I'm
First
not
first
surprised.
5 minute candle of the day, we got paid
Right there.
all of that.
Th-
And the second entry too.
The second entry was that off the nine.
No, it was you see how you're building a flag on the 5 minute, and then yeah, the big red candle came down to the 9 EMA right there. And that one, when I looked at volume and put it together with time and sales, bunch of orders got in there. So we got in there again and we just ate on the way up again. But the first entry was money if anybody was in there today. XPX2, yeah, XPX2, yeah.
Everybody knows flips in the VC. That's the place to be.
That was my favorite trade of the day. It was because we were done in like 3 minutes of the day.
Well, that's an interesting question from Al Brooks in the chat. Flips, were you looking at time and sales on the contract or on the share equity AMD?
I was looking time and sales on Thinkorswim. So whatever, I think that's actually shares.
Yep, yep.
If I look at time and sales for options, I'll be looking at flow services. So that's where I look at people trying to buy and sell options.
And what are you looking at? What are you using flow services these days? Are you still Cheddar Flow?
Cheddar flow, yeah.
Cheddar Flow.
Unusual whales I use a lot too,
Oh, you
but
use that now.
yeah, I use both of them. It has the good details on it too, but cheddar flow is pretty much what I use.
All right. Very nice. Cool. Yeah, so important to note, volume generally follows these patterns. So there's a real common pattern in volume. And when you see volume deviate from those patterns, it's kind of important to note. Like, for example, if you get big volume middle of the day, it's something to start paying attention to because we know volume generally is higher at market open, higher at the close. So there's always going to be kind of those patterns. But if you see some significant increase midday, it might be something to pay attention to a bit more heavily. SR asks why you took the AMD call. I think Flip's kind of just explained it there, looking at time and sales. Also, the 9 EMA sitting right there on the 5 minute, at least for that second entry.
So the first
Yeah.
the first
Oh, the
entry,
first.
okay, so when you go to pre-market, you can there you go, make pre-market low support, boom. Then every time I was watching that stock for about an hour and a half, the market opens on pre-market, people can actually trade shares, but not us. So you guys need to understand it's not us that trading. This is big money.
Right.
And every time that it was consolidated between pre-market lows and like 20 cents up, there was really big orders coming in on purchases on shares. You cannot buy options on pre-market and post-market. So it
Hmm.
was just shares being held. So I knew that level was key. Then we had a really big candle breakout on pre-market. The first green candle broke out from pre-market lows, and that is called break. And we won the retest of it. Today, give it to us. Many times it doesn't give it to us. So it gives us the retest of pre-market low, and then that's where I call the entry. Now, stop loss is 10%, 15% down from that. Or
Hmm.
we can bounce from there when seeing where everybody was buying shares and we actually got in at the right time. Remember, the trading options is a probability game, and you got to have as many probabilities on your side. Time in sales, volume, which is what Tostie is doing right now, level twos, um, the most important one is resistance and supports. So we use the support today and we ES8.
That answer your question? It's
I hope
beautiful.
that answers your questions.
Beautiful. 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 And Flips does this live every day. So yeah, he's always explaining, always teaching in the VC. So can't go wrong hanging out there with him. Another good question from Steven. How do you make sense of time and sales? There are so many orders on both sides. So how do you know? Time and sales, you have to remember, is essentially the live kind of feed of what's going on in the volume. So that's the first thing to know is that seeing those orders come through time and sales is the raw data that's contributing to the volume for the overall bar that you're looking at. That said, there's kind of two things to look at for time and sales. There's the orders that come in green, and there's the orders that come in red. Let's see if we could see some for ES. Oh, this is filtered too big. So here you can see time and sales right now for ES. You have a lot of orders in green, a lot of orders in red. These green orders are transacting at the ask, red are transacting at the bid. that's really the big idea. And I think flips, you're just looking for orders with significant size and at either at your key levels, and that's kind of it, right? I mean,
Yep, I'm looking for orders to be filled at where I see my support or my resistance. That's what I'm looking for. But I don't know, man. It just takes a little bit of playing around with it, a little bit of experience. And I'll go more into detail later on about this, but not right now.
so at the bid, it's usually a sell. It depends, but yeah, that's a general trend. All right. Also, yeah, common to see high volume during significant news events. I forgot I had that bullet point there. One important point to note is, and this is maybe a little bit of a kind of confusing statement at surface level, volume is analyzed based on relativity. And what I mean by that is you have to analyze volume on a individual stock. You can't necessarily compare one stock's volume to another stock's volume. So for example, I'm not going to look at the volume on the first 5 minute bar on AMD. Like, for example, if I can even type, if I go to AMD, today's first 5 minute bar was approximately 2 million volume. I'm not going to go to the same first 5 minute bar of NVIDIA and say, oh, NVIDIA only has 1 million volume. That's really low, right? It's two very different stocks with very different average volumes. And you have to remember that 1 million volume on NVIDIA is actually way more money than AMD because NVIDIA is like 4 or 5 times the price. So it's important to compare the volume of an individual stock to itself. And that's what I mean by this relativity statement is you want to look and compare high or low volume to the average volume of that given stock. So you can see here, for example, on the SPY, this would be increased selling volume. As price moves lower, we see that volume increase, and compared to the average, it's much higher. And here you could see that strong trend lower. This was back in early 2022. And on this small move up, you could see that slightly decreasing buying volume as price moves higher, which would generally be a bearish indication. Yeah. So, and kind of playing into that same example, volume helps identify the strength or weakness of trends. You can see the first time the S&P tested these highs here, we had this kind of amount of volume. The second time, it was slightly lower on that second test, indicating that there were less buyers the second time we showed up at the highs, which that would be a bearish indication. That's not something that we would want to see for a strong breakout, right? So overall, these kind of different features would all be reasons to not be incredibly excited about looking or feeling bullish on that specific stock. So with that, I think we have kind of the general principles of analyzing volume at least introduced. Flips, do you want to walk us through, an example maybe where you recently were analyzing volume? I know we talked about AMD, but maybe something else where you really were kind of relying on volume heavily, like an increase or decrease in volume, something like that.
Yeah. Let me see real quick.
It
Let me
might be
open
hard to, yeah, get those notes up.
All right, so go to Tesla. We had 2 entries on Tesla today.
All right.
You can zoom in. There you go. Now, first draw your pre-market low levels. Beautiful. Correct. So if you notice, we had Tesla big breakout on the opening bell, a decrease completely down. And then I want you to look at the volume, how it consolidated on those three inside candles. It didn't increase. The volume candles did not get bigger, meaning more sellers came in. It was actually consolidating. And when a stock consolidates on a very thick level, then you see the volume increase. And we bought that's exactly where we bought Tesla calls, on the pre-market low level, right there. And we did it like it was perfect. And then we got paid on that. That was our first entry. If you look at volume consolidated, and then it increased on buyers.
Right. And that's, I think, super important point, Flips, is that you had that massive push to start the day off, right? Really high volume. And this was 3.8 million volume. We could see what Tesla normally does at the open. Normally pretty high, 3.8, yeah, 3 million. So normally pretty high volume here off the open. So nothing too crazy, but still strong move higher, right? Pull back on still high volume for the kind of overall day, but for this time period, nothing too crazy. and
Right.
also decreased as price moved lower, which is a good sign. And like you mentioned, as price consolidated, we didn't see any high volume, which is also a good sign. You wouldn't want to
Correct.
see something like this. And let's see if I could just fake this really quick. What you wouldn't want to see is something like, come on. You wouldn't want to see something like that, where while
Yeah.
you're consolidating, you just see crazy high volume for some
Yeah.
reason. That would be, I mean, I guess it could always mean two things. I guess more clearly, you wouldn't want to see something like this, right? You wouldn't want to see crazy high volume as price moves lower. High volume when price consolidates could mean one of two things, so not always conclusive, but high volume as price moves lower, definitely not a bullish indication.
Correct.
But in this specific example, we didn't see any of that, right? Oops, I just deleted both those candles.
It's okay.
Here, I'll fix that.
That was our first entry. Our second entry was you see the two 5 minute candles that what we got the no the first entry was pre-market low,
Yep.
and then that's the first 5 minute candle, and then the second 5 minute candle.
Second here, up top.
No, the first entry was pre-market low, correct?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
One candle, and then there's another green candle.
Right here.
Yep,
The
it,
9.
that one. So then that little red candle in between, the little red candle between, if you look at a volume,
Oh, this
volume
is beautiful.
volume was actually very, very low. So it's not a reversal. That little candle. And then we got in again there. And those contracts, I believe they were like 116, I don't remember, 116 or something like that. And they just started spiking up.
This is like textbook flips. This is like pretty much a textbook example, right? You get that increase in volume, right? You can see one bar after the other, increase in volume as price pushes off pre-market lows. The only red candle is half of the buy candle, like literally
Correct.
half the volume. This was 2.5 million. This was about 1.25, literally half the volume on this red candle, which
Correct.
all this means is that there's more buyers than sellers, and the volume is what's telling you that. So, I mean, yeah, what else flips? Sorry,
And then no,
this is
that
just
one
so nice.
that's how I use volume. It touched that level. I looked at the 5 minute candle close. I looked at volume. Volume wasn't even half of what the previous candle was, meaning there's buyers sitting on support. So I called out a second entry. I guess BH just put it there, 109 entry to 210 on
Woo.
that. So that was our second entry. We were still holding runners from the previous entry that it was like 80 something bucks, and it went as high as the third flag all the way on the top. We finished actually up there. I'm still swinging two contracts, I'm sure, from the first trade from the pre-market low.
Beautiful.
And that's still moving. So hopefully that opens to more
Oh,
yeah.
oh,
So that
oh,
was a
flips.
very good
You might have
indication.
a good day tomorrow.
It might just open very good, hopefully.
It might, you might. We can't get too excited, but it's not looking bad. It's not looking bad, that's for sure.
Yeah. So
Flips,
we'll
this is I mean, I can't believe this is the
textbook
example that you
volume.
said. Yeah, this is like shockingly textbook.
Hmm.
I mean, really, this is exactly what you want to see. This is like textbook volume price analysis here. And even we could break this down bar by bar flips. First candle of the day, right? You have a bull bar closing near its high with reasonably high volume, right? Obviously, highest volume of the day, but knowing the patterns in volume, we know that the opening bar, closing bar, generally highest volume. So that might not be a signal on its own. Then we get this pullback on reasonably average bear volume, right? We didn't get any anomalies. Like, for example, something that might be an anomaly would be volume that looks like this, right? If we got volume that was this high, that would be concerning, right? Seeing all that volume on the pullback, that would be much more bearish, right? So we wouldn't want to see something like that. But here, nothing too concerning, right? All pretty much the average. As price pulls back and consolidates, volume decreases, which is a good sign. Then we get this first bounce off of pre-market lows. The next bar moves higher on rising volume, again, indicating more bulls are present here. And then the very first pullback after that move higher is on some of the smallest volume all day so far. And
Yeah,
it's after a massive move higher.
it was
Yeah,
smaller than all the other red candles on
exactly.
the sellers.
Exactly. So this pullback is even weaker than the prior one, right? Because there's less sellers present. And this is really textbook analysis right here, right? You get a weak pullback back into the 9 EMA. Again, you get that first bounce on reasonably average volume. We move higher on rising volume there. We break through these highs here. on rising volume,
That's
another
it.
bullish indication, right? And this just goes to show you could continue to trade the stock after this, right? You get another strong bullish breakout here, the next pullback to the 9 ended up being a buy, right? Which shouldn't come as much of a surprise, right? Stock's clearly in an uptrend. People are clearly looking to buy this. And even this bounce on the 9, right? Rising volume as price moves higher. And then for the rest of the day, we didn't really set any new major low. So
Yeah. So my stop loss on the last runners, there was two of them, was actually the wick of the first 5 minute candle
wick of the first 5 minute candle. So here
all the
on
way
the
up, all the
runners.
way up on the
Oh,
top.
oh, oh, oh,
Yeah,
here.
that's my stop
Oh,
loss
for the day, for the day.
for the day. So
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
just, he never touched, so I
So you
swinging.
never stopped out.
So I never stopped out.
I mean,
And
this is, I don't know how this is the example that you called out, Flips. This is better than something I could even find just looking through charts. This is like,
that was a very good trade today. Two good entries on AMD and two good entries on Tesla. Another entry, if you guys want to read volume, another entry was Microsoft.
let's see.
That wants to like to read Microsoft, you can go there. You go. Choppy as hell, but if you can read it, you go to draw your pre-market high.
Wait one sec.
Uh,
Here, let me just pull this up. Oops. There we go.
okay, there you go.
Green line's pre-market high.
So look at that breakout of pre-market high. You're gonna have to zoom. There you go.
Yeah, make it bigger so you can actually see it.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Yep. So breakout of pre-market high. Consolidate 5 minute candle. And then it just keep running on volume. Slow down, up and down, choppy until we got paid. But it was like the contracts were, I think they were like 21, 22%. Nothing big. But that was another trade on resistance and supports with volume.
yeah. I mean, Flips, this isn't, less textbook than Tesla for sure, but still illustrates the exact same concept, right? Multiple high volume bars through on this move higher. And the most notable thing of all, I think, to pay attention on this chart is this bar 30 minutes after the open had just as much volume as the bar of the first 5 minute candle.
Yeah.
That's pretty uncommon, right? That's not something you usually see. If you see volume increase more than the first 5 minute bar in the middle of the day, that's not really something you see all the time. And I think we had
There's
news at
buyers
7
there.
a.m. today.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it just goes to show that buyers are willing to purchase the stock here. And this, again, beautiful first pullback to the 9, right? Pullback to the 9 on declining volume here. It's the exact same thing we saw on Tesla, right? That declining sell volume here, boom, increasing buying volume as we break through pre-market high. First pullback again on declining volume. And it's just very clearly illustrated, right? Once we got this first initial breakout, every single pullback was weak. There was never any significant sells. And ultimately price, slowed down a lot. We started to get our first couple significant sells here, even here, which the weakness began to show towards the end of the day. But still, right, that morning pull or that morning move was pretty reasonable to catch. That's beautiful.
And I think that's it. That's it for my trades today. It was AMD, Tesla. I did some XPX as well. But our XPX I played looking at SPY. And of course we had the news that really pushed for us. So that was, that was also helpful
Right.
for our resistance and our supports, so but yeah, though that's how I pretty much I use volume today.
This is a beautiful, beautiful example, Flips. I mean, this is like absolutely perfect.
We had a great day utilizing volume. So
Does
for the
anybody have any questions about this? Because yeah, I know I saw some people have questions for Flips on volume in the chat, and I was like, oh, Flips, this is the perfect lecture for you because we got volume tonight. Everybody wants to know. Everybody loves to hear from Flips, and we're talking volume, so this is the perfect collab. Any questions? Any questions related to what Flips just described
about volume, the key, what are you in right now in the lecture?
about
Volume,
volume?
right? Yeah.
About volume. Excellent. What should be the time frame to watch? Oh, this is a good question. I think we could both answer this one, Flips.
Go ahead.
Yeah, me personally, it's important to answer this question first by saying it's important to watch every time frame, right? So you can't just watch the 5 minute only. I know we're doing these reviews on the 5 minute, but that doesn't mean that you should only be looking at the 5 minute, right? Flips and myself and everybody else in here don't just trade on the 5 minute. Now, that said, some time frames that I like to review in the intervals I do that at daily, weekly time frames. That's generally once, at least once a week minimum. Daily, sometimes every night. Then there's 4 hour, 1 hour, 30 minute, 15 minute. All of those I review kind of periodically. When I'm in a trade, I'm usually looking at the 1 hour, 30 minute, and 15 minute as well. And then the 5 minute is usually what I use to time my entries. And I didn't used to use the 4 hour, but Flips was like always talking about the 4 hour, and I was like, all right, I guess I got to use it. But that's kind of my answer. A lot of time frames. What do you have to say, Flips?
Say that again, brother. You're staticky.
Oh, my bad, my bad. What time frames do you usually look at?
Oh shit, all of them.
I know. Yeah.
Start. I don't really trade a lot on the daily. I mostly go on the 4 hour,
Right.
4 hour chart first, on the hourly right after that, and then I look for my entry on the 5 and the 15s.
Yep.
So most of my charting happens on the 4 hour, and a lot of people join VC or join and they just want trades to get in and out. But what you really need to understand is that trading takes a little bit of review, a little bit of homework. You need to be able to educate yourself. Take this like a full-time job where you need to educate yourself and really put a little bit of homework. 30 minutes a day, 45 minutes a day of scanning the market when the market opens or when it closes, and look at everything on the 4 hour chart. Look for your levels on your 4 hour chart. They match your levels on the hourly chart. Do they match? If they
Mm-hmm.
match, that's a solid level for you to look at. Now you got to look at volume. Did he buy there? Did he sell there? Did he reject there? Did he push there? Okay, at that time frame, what happened with the overall market? What happened with XPX? What happened with SPY? What happened with Nasdaq when I was trading? I trade a lot of um tech sector. So
Mm-hmm.
did he move at the same time? Okay, I kind of like that level. I'm gonna draw those levels. Then from there, I go to the 15 and the 5 minute to look for a time that it would touch. Like I told everybody today, AMD popped on pre-market, and I said, unless it doesn't come back to my level, I'm not entering AMD. And it was just perfect. It came back to our level and we enter, which is where the buyers were sitting at the white line that he has down there.
Also pre-market high too.
Yeah, okay, there too.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah,
So that's
beautiful.
waiting for a proper entry.
Mm-hmm.
The fibs that you show on Spy today gave really nice though. Yeah, and that's another way you can look at intraday levels using your Fibonacci levels. Fibonacci retracement level. That's pretty easy to use as well. Use your fib levels on Spy on the 4 hour, and then mark them. Then use your fib levels on the hourly, and then if they overlap each other, just keep those, and then trade those levels on the 5 and the 15. So I'm using different strategies now as well when I trade, and according to how risky the trade is, I look at my position sizing.
Mm-hmm.
Never bigger than 10%, always smaller. No, nothing always bigger.
Yep.
Yep.
Absolutely. See, do we have any more of this to review? Oh, okay. So I actually have a question for everybody. As we kind of discussed, right, seeing that high volume on any move is generally a good sign. So I wanted to just bring up an example question and see what everybody's thoughts are, right? So if you take a look at this breakout right here, what do you notice about these two bars compared to the rest of the chart? And in your opinion, would this be a strong breakout or a weak breakout in this, whatever stock this is? I don't even remember at this point. So go ahead, throw your answers in the chat. Again, make sure you're paying attention to this volume right here. This is a pretty big hint, I think, Flips. Maybe this is maybe too much of a hint there, Flips. I could even do that. I think, what do we think? Is this a strong or weak breakout now that we have a little bit of information there on the chart? We got two answers. I know there's more of you in here who can answer this. There we go. Exactly. Somebody said fair value gap. Yeah, no, I don't know about that. But yeah, absolutely, right? This is very clearly a strong bullish breakout, right? You're seeing that rising volume as price clears that trend. Also, a gap left behind, right? Seeing that gap left behind increases the kind of strength that we see from that breakout. If we take a look and review the rest of the price action, a nice continuation higher. Looks like it was Tesla. Oh wow, back in 2022, so a long time ago. But here, textbook example, right? We see that first big breakout day on increasing volume, multiple days of follow through with price moving higher. Overall, after these two breakout bars alone, just these two bars, price ended up moving another 11, 12% higher. So it just goes to show the power of identifying these strong bullish breakouts. Because again, right, couple things to note here, right? You have a nice hammer here at the lows and an increase in relative volume as price moves higher. So pretty much another textbook example here of a nice bullish breakout. We see this type of stuff every single day in and out of the financial markets, and learning how to identify these very simple but powerful patterns can be incredibly useful to your trading. And I think flips can very easily say that it's something that happens all the time. All right. So Koa asked for a good example. Show an example of a fake out where we're getting that move higher, but it's decreasing. Let's see if we can see some signs here from today on the SPY. I think this was a reasonably good example to start the day. Here,
Can you do, Tostie, you there?
learn a bit more about it. Opening range. Oh, hello.
Tostie, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
You were on the moon for a second.
I don't know why. My internet's never usually that bad, but my bad. Everything good now though?
Perfect. We can hear you.
All right, cool. My bad. So I don't know what was heard and what wasn't, but anyway, taking a step back here, Koa asked to see an example of a fake out, right? Which I think is pretty important. Here you could see a reasonably textbook one, right? This is a great example of a fake out on the SPY. Here today, I have the opening range drawn in this blue box, and River was posting this chart in his tab as well. You could see first kind of bar that of the opening range breakout was actually like this breakout bar here actually was on decreasing volume, right? Very slight, but still on decreasing volume. So you can see as price breaks the opening range here, volume didn't expand, which that's generally a red flag, right? When you're looking for a breakout, you want to see that expansion in volume. Next, the first kind of bar that was a pullback here was on higher volume, right? So it rose volume there on that first pullback. You could see generally kind of choppy price action here, nothing too crazy. The breakout fails, but really the biggest signal of that fake out is this bar right here, where you get that bear bar closing near its low on the highest volume in an hour. This is your clue right here that the breakout has failed. You could see if we draw a line kind of horizontally here from this volume bar across, you can see that we haven't had volume this high in over an hour and a half, or about an hour and a half, I should say. And this after we rejected this breakout and moved lower, which this obviously might be a little bit late to go short, but if you are still holding calls for this breakout, I think at this point it should be incredibly obvious that the breakout has failed and there's clearly sellers now present in the marketplace. Obviously, price ended up moving back up to the opening range, but never ended up breaking through it. So does that give you a good example, Koa? Can catch it with Riva. You mean Rivian? We're not looking at Rivian. We're done with Rivian. That's a shit company. No more. They're down in the dumps. You have any good examples of a fake out today, Flips? I'm not sure if you saw any. This was the one that I was
No,
most
because pretty much after six wins, I just don't look at them anymore. But one thing that you guys can do is if you notice how he drew a consolidation on the day on SPY, if you can get open Fibonacci levels
on the spot.
on SPY, yeah, and go from the first 5 minute candle on pre-market on the bottom, right before there, to the high of day. There. Look how those levels were, guys. That's why we took exactly. There you go. That's where you buy calls.
Pretty
That's
clean.
yeah, that's an easy way on how to utilize him. And if it closes below that, you get out. I'm a
Yeah, and
very
fib
and I just utilize resistance and supports all the time.
fibs are great for the for range days like this when the market doesn't
Yes.
really go anywhere. Fibs are great. Anytime the market's in a range, fibs are some of the more powerful tools. And it's crazy how it just works out that way.
Is wild. But yeah, that's pretty easy. How come you're missing 78.6? I don't
Oh,
know.
here, let me show it.
That's because Tostie took him off.
I took them off.
There you
Oh, even better.
uh-huh. Same support as earlier, it did it twice. So
Beautiful.
that's an easy way on how to scalp. You can trade SPY only all day. Scalping same day contracts, super cheap, very small amounts so that way you don't get hurt. And you can utilize that. Wait the first 30 to 45 minutes, even the first hour of the day, where it kind of like range a little bit, draw your fibs and trade that on the 5 minute. And you can have a little bit of fun with that.
Absolutely. Yeah, the
So
78.6 fib. Money.
that 38.2 fib level, that was an entry for XPX in the morning after that big freaking candle. That
Hmm.
news and then inside red candle and it closed, then that next 5 minute candle broke about 38.2 again. That was instead of spot we just played XPX on that one.
Yep.
The pullback right on top at the 25 or 28, something like that. Pull back to that Fibonacci level, that was the second entry again. And then it just went all the way to the top and we got out.
Easy
So
money.
is it just waiting for the proper entry? That's all it is, guys.
Patience is key. Absolutely. And I think that's something that Flips is really, really good at, is always waiting for those entries to come by, because yeah, it's something that most people can't always do. Um, and yeah, having that patience is really, really important, especially when you're day trading, because yeah, that patience and just a slightly better entry can make a massive difference. Very cool. All right, let's see. Can I show how to do fibs? Yeah, this isn't necessarily a fibs lecture, so we'll probably save that for closer to the end, just in case there's kind of more discussion that we want to cover on volume to make sure we focus on that. But yeah, we can do that. When would you enter on fibs in real time? I mean, pretty much just at the level, just like any other support and resistance. Yeah. Anything else to say besides that?
Nope, that's exactly what it is.
Cool. All right. Let's see. I don't remember if I had anything else in the PowerPoint for tonight. Okay. I have a couple examples here. Again, you could see same idea. Looking at that relative volume, seeing that volume come off of a specific level one time generally helps us understand or realize that that volume will come in the second time. So first time we hit pre-market lows here on the SPY, big volume obviously at the open, but still that big volume was there off that specific level. You can see two wicks off of this pre-market low level, boom, boom. Clearly buyers present there. So the next time we come to get to this level, nice hammer candle, long wick to the downside, and small increased volume as well. And again, right, conversely, volume helps us do the same for sellers at resistance. You can see when we pull up to resistance, we had that slight increase in volume here, very subtle here, just a range day, so nothing too crazy. But you can see that first time we tag this big sell level, we get those sellers that show up. And then the second time, a little bit less sellers. And you can see how we actually get a bit of a weaker pullback, right? So the first time we have more sellers, stronger pullback all the way to the range lows. Whereas the second time, a little bit less sellers and get a quick pullback lower and then right back up to the range highs. Oh, Flips, your favorite stock from 2022. Look at this. This is heaven right here. This is almost textbook material. Price breaking through a resistance level, obviously, as we discussed, indicates that strong volume, or indicates a strong breakout, right? You can see that price coming through as we break above that level. The first time, not anything too crazy. The second time, though, very obvious we have high volume here. Again, the third, you can see right when we come back to these prior swing highs, we get those buyers step in once again. Yeah, I mean, this is something that repeats time and time again. These are all patterns that we see all the time. All right, Flips is going to bed. Good night, Flips.
Good night, guys. Thank you so much for having me, Toasty.
Thanks so much for your time, Flips. Yeah, always appreciate you, brother. I'll see you tomorrow on VC.
I'll see you guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Everybody show some love to Flips and get in the VC with him tomorrow. If you're not in the VC with Flips tomorrow, I don't know what to tell you. You're crazy. I know 6:47 out here, Flips. We got a couple hours before our bedtime, but yeah, we'll be going to sleep soon. Flips needs to sleep. All right. Make sure you guys show some love to Flips. He always makes the time to pull up to some of these lectures with us, and it's always so much more fun. And I know you guys love his examples because I'm not in there live trading with you guys, but Flips is. So yeah, always love having him in here. So make sure you show him some love. Do it for me if you can. Just yeah, shout out to Flips for being here always. Yeah, wanted to give Flips Flips the love he deserves. All right, let's blow through a couple more of these examples, and then we'll probably call it for the evening and address those questions. I think I have one more. Let's see, what else did I have here? Another AMD. You can see here, right? Levels rejected in pre-market. Oh, these were the same levels that we came up to. Later turn into support. So this is more kind of I'll call it price action analysis here. I don't remember, this example was a long time I made this. Oh, this isn't really about volume. Anyway, yeah, I guess this kind of I'll wrap up on this point really here with the lecture content. Obviously, two key levels here from pre-market, this 119.50 and this 118.43, which AMD's far above those now. But these levels come from the higher time frames, right? You can get all these levels from the higher time frames. So here you can see daily levels, right? That 125 big hammer right there off that pivot. Also that 118 previous day's highs in this example, and also these lows right around here, 113 big pivot here on the daily. And you can see if we zoom back how these levels apply to the lower time frame. So that 118.40 was this level right here, previous day's high. Boom, 118.40 right here as well. So this just kind of is meant to drive home the point of using that multi-time frame analysis to your advantage. Again, right? You have these trends that work out on different time frames, and also very important to identify prior key levels, and you can use those on all time frames. So very, very important concept there. It's something that we covered a little bit ago, but just kind of wanted to hammer that home here. All right, with that said, I'll focus on those questions that we got on the fibs and how to draw them really quick. This lecture isn't about fibs, so if there's any questions on volume or anything else that you want me to touch on volume, go ahead and ask now, or else we'll spend a little bit on just talking about drawing those fibs, and then we will move on. Anybody have any questions on volume? Why sometimes the buying volume is higher, but the price goes down? I don't exactly know specifically what that might look like. I can't tell exactly what you're visualizing there. But I will say there's plenty of times where price moves higher, yet buyer volume moves lower. And that would be something referred to as a volume anomaly, right? Which is super possible. We see those all the time. But generally, it's just a sign that maybe this isn't as high quality of a setup as we're looking for. So it's not always necessarily a bearish indication, but when we see price move higher and volume move lower, it's just a reason for us to kind of take that step back and evaluate if we should really either continue to be in this trade or take a trade if that's the signal bar that we're paying attention to. Does that answer your question? Is there any indicator that shows buy versus sell volume in the same candlestick? Yes. So I do use one of those from time to time. I think it's just pinned in my tab somewhere, and it looks like this. So you can kind of see how it looks. It just breaks down the volume within the bar based on buyers and sellers, which can be pretty helpful sometimes. Yeah, I can send you the link to that. Yeah, the red volume means a seller volume increase. Exactly. So when you see those red bars, that represents increased selling volume. So let me find this pin really quick. Oops. It's being so weird. So, buy versus sell volume. So it's just pinned in my tab. I'll also post the link in the lecture chat here. There you go. So if you want to download this buy versus sell volume script, it can help to just really break down the volume bars just a bit more and get a little bit better of an idea of what exactly is going on behind the scenes there. Cool. All right. Cool. So let's talk a little bit about drawing fibs. There's kind of two types of fibs. There's the fib extensions and the fib retracements. Fib retracements, generally, you're going to start with a swing high and drag them down to the swing low or the opposite. So it's pretty simple. You just go from one pivot to the other. So here you can see low of day, drag that low up to the high. There's your fibs. Pretty simple. If we look at something like a daily time frame here, this is in an uptrend, so we should start here at the bottom, drag to the highs, could enable all of them. And there's your fibs, right? Pretty simple. So big target on a pullback would be right here, 500 if we came down there, which at this point, you could also maybe be paying attention to this channel here. Let's see if I could draw it out. I haven't drawn one of these in a long time. Little channel, right? So yeah, that's really the big idea behind the fib retracements. They're pretty simple. Yeah, in an uptrend or in a downtrend, you would start at the top. So here's a downtrend, start at the top, go to the bottom, and there's your fibs. So if I just enable them all once again, there's our downtrend fibs, start at the top, drag to the bottom, uptrend fibs, start at the bottom, drag to the top. And here you could see we got a bunch of nice levels. And they all look, honestly, really great. Pretty cool. So, yep, that's fibs there, or that's the fib retracements. Now, if we clear this, the other type of fibs is the fib extensions. So the fib extensions are a little bit more complicated. For these ones in an uptrend, you start at a low, drag to a high, and then drag to a higher low. So this is the initial low, this is the swing high, and this is the higher low. Let's go look how this looks like on the daily. And boom, right? 521, an area of contention here, no coincidence. And remember that all of these are well above the all-time highs. Like this is, well, I guess this is all-time highs right here, but this level above all-time highs, and you can see ended up being a decent level there, multiple touches off that on the daily. And same here, 521 ended up being a decent level. And this is all just based on a prediction, essentially. So we can do the same thing with NVIDIA. If we go here from the low to the high, to the higher low, there's your fibs in purple. Come down to the daily, oops, to the daily, and you can see how price respected those. So boom, 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 all the purple levels, every single one of them look great. And even one higher, next one up is above 1,000. Yeah, that's your fibs. Any other questions on drawing those? I think it's pretty simple, but maybe not everybody agrees. Everybody feel good on that? Everybody feel good on volume? Ready to start applying it tomorrow? All right. Well, thanks everybody for your time. Always appreciate your attendance. I will see you guys all in the next one. Yeah, hop in VC with flips tomorrow. Cool. All right, everybody. Yeah, let's have a great end of the week, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Thanks so much for your time. Hope to see you guys in the next beginners course series. Later.